Hi, welcome to Chad Silversmithing. First, thanks for coming to my channel. I really appreciate you visiting. And if you wouldn't mind, would you hit the like button before you leave? That really helps to get my channel promoted so I can grow and bring more people the content that I have here. So thank you if you do that for me. I'd like to thank a couple of groups. Number one, my subscribers here. We just passed 4,000 subscribers, which is awesome. I really appreciate all of your contributions and your input and ideas and constructive criticism. That's all very helpful. So thank you for that, and thank you for the kind words you leave for me. I wanted to thank my patrons too. I actually have quite a few new ones. I have Michelle C., Dana G., Tina N., and Margaret M. So thank you for signing up for my Patreon. You're kind of my bread and butter people who actually bring me quite a bit of income. So thank you for that. That helps out a great deal with supplies and buying stones and just generally supporting us. So thank you so much for your support. Today I wanted to do kind of a filigree-ish pendant, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to use a piece of Larimar. I got a nice sort of teardrop shaped piece of Larimar. It's a very pretty stone, and I'm looking forward to creating a setting that is worthy of the kind of beauty this stone has. So hopefully I can do that. We'll see. Let's get started. So I thought I should probably show you the stone here. It's kind of a pretty little Larimar with some dark and some light coloration. It's a nice combo. It's about 25 millimeters tall, 24 maybe, by about 20. I think for this project we're probably going to need, I'm going to use 3/16 inch tall bezel strip made out of fine silver. I'm going to use 26 gauge for this one. I'll probably use some 26 gauge sheet for the back of the bezel. I considered doing an open back bezel for this one, but it's got kind of scratched up back. Even though it's kind of generally polished, they left a lot of big scratches in there. So I think the front side's good, the back side we should probably cover up anyway. So we'll do that, and the materials mostly we're going to need some 14 gauge round wire, some 18 gauge round wire, and I might use a little 16 as well. So I may have to make some though because I don't know if I have any left. Look at my little drawing book. Starting to get pretty far back into it now. I've been using this one for a while. Okay, so this is kind of what I was thinking. I was going to put the Larimar right here like this. Just do kind of a standard bezel around it, and then I was going to create this filigree that goes around it that I think will be pretty. But I don't want it just laying flat. I want it actually tipped up so it's at an angle, so it's sticking outwards and comes together kind of like that. And so in order to do that, we need to do some geometry kind of stuff to figure out how to make that tilt like that. And so I sketched out some things. I measured the distance around the inside, just right around the stone was about 80 millimeters. The outside, if I put some 18 gauge wire in there, is going to be about 110 millimeters. So I curved them both in order to get the ends of them close enough to where you could run a line between them, and also about the width that they'll be, since this is going to be 14 gauge round, so it'll be a little bit thicker than the lines I drew. And these little swirls will be 18 gauge round. So I think that's probably it. I may use some 16 for the outside of this. This bail up here, I made a kind of a prototype. I'm going to do an open one that's kind of filigree-ish looking to match the rest of it. So this one's a little rough, but we'll make the next one look a little nicer. So, but yeah, I used 16 on the outside, and I had a little bit left, and I may need to make some more. So, all right. So let's get started. Let's make a bezel for this stone to start with. Whenever you're doing a bezel for a pointy stone, you never want to put the solder joint at the point because it's hard to it just makes it much harder when you go to set the stone if you do something like that. It's also hard to get the actual... I did that pretty sharply there, but it's not quite that sharp, so I'm going to smooth it out just a bit. Soften the sharp bend slightly. That looks pretty close. I always use primarily hard silver sheet solder, and I use a spray-on flux called My-T-Flux. I'm just going to put a little square of solder on top here where the solder joint is. Just got to get it back in the shape of the stone here. Did reasonably well on the sides. Find my sheet. Looks like we still got enough on this piece here to cut a bottom off for this guy. So we can just solder this down to a piece. I'm using 26 gauge sterling sheet, which is what I use for a lot of backs of bezels. If it's not doesn't require a thicker sheet for some structural reason. Some people like to put like 20 little tiny pieces. I'm more inclined to put 6 or 8 medium-sized pieces. Doesn't really matter as long as your seam is in contact along the entire length. Once that solder flows, it should wick along that seam. Looks like we got a decent join all the way around. Let's trim this off. Generally inspect the solder joint to make sure I got a good one all the way around, but I think I pretty much am sure I did on that one. Now, I think cut the 14 gauge square wire here to the right length. Probably just use this as a template. Did I say 14 gauge square? I meant 14 gauge round. Ooh. I guess I could have just measured it, but I'm going to curve it anyway, and it's already kind of curved. Starting getting that in the range. Alright, so these little scroll kind of things I'm going to make out of 18 gauge wire. Here's a little 18. I'll use this stuff up first. Cut 22 millimeters. Was about the size I wanted to use for these. So I'm going to cut. Let's see how these work out before I cut too many of them. Just put a little loop on either end, facing opposite directions, kind of as small as these little pliers will allow me. Let's see how this looks. I think that's a good width. And then we'll have to file it so we can solder another piece of wire going in that direction. I kind of just want one going up there, so I may leave one of them open and leave one of them soldered closed, and then we can just join them when we get them up there. But we'll have to see. I should honestly, you'll notice I put a circle here in the middle and then they're opposite directions going up, so I need to do that probably. So I should find the center of this, or pretty close to the center of it. Do the center. So let me make a little loop to start there with. Maybe that's the best starting point. But I need to make a loop that's pretty similar in size to this one here. Alright, so that's going to be the center there. Once we start cutting equal length ones of these and working them down here, we'll see how close we are to the center, and then we can adjust accordingly, I think. I'm going to cut a bunch of these, this length, and we'll make some more. So you can see I did, let's see, I did the little circle in the middle, then I did 2, 4, 6, 8 of those little scrolls. And I think it might be easiest to solder them to one side first, like the big side, and then solder the other side to it. So I think I'm going to start by soldering that on there so I have a central point to work my way up the things from. The things. Arms, wings, if you haven't checked out my Patreon, you might want to check it out. We do things over there like I give them a monthly theme, and I'll make a piece of jewelry from it if you want to participate. So like last month was hardware. That's if you saw my hardware jewelry video, that was my response to that. And the students can also do it too. And I have exclusive tutorials, and for some tiers you can do live streaming. But there's a Discord server for everybody, so you can share ideas and show each other different things you've made. It's nice. And there's 4 different tiers of membership. Sometimes it's kind of fun to do little delicate wire work like this. The final result looks so, I don't know, just kind of porous and cool looking. Filigree-ish, I guess. Okay, I got a bunch of little pieces of solder there, so we'll see if we can't solder these all down. Do a little dribbling so we don't move them too much. Using pretty small pieces of solder here. Somehow I got a little piece of sterling on there. I think I need some more solder. This is the kind of procedure where laying little tiny pieces of solder on here would be kind of a pain. So this is the kind of situation where pick soldering is super handy. If you haven't watched my pick soldering video, you should check it out. I'll put a link up there. It's one of those techniques that when you actually master it, it makes things about 5 times faster. So if you're frustrated with how long it takes to make pieces, that might help. I think I got them all. Let's cool it off and take a look at them to make sure. That's surprisingly good on the curve. Usually there's little tiny subtleties that are hard to. I got pretty lucky on that one, just by hand bending it. Hoping this all fits together when I'm done after all of my ciphering. If you're under 30, you probably don't know what ciphering is. I don't know if anybody ever uses that term anymore. I don't think so. Did I miss anywhere? I don't think so. This side's a little longer than that side, so. Just file this down a little bit like that. I dropped the ball. Hopefully I did this sort of the way it'll work out. I'm not 100% sure since I've never done this exactly. So ideally this is going to curve a little bit. Let's see how close we are size-wise. We've got some room to spare here. I think I'm going to cut it off about right here on this loop. See how that works. I'm getting there. But I do kind of want it to be sitting right on top of it, so I may have to snip off a little bit more so that it actually rests on there. I think I will. Maybe we don't need a little central thing here, but I'm gonna cut a little bit more off of here and see. And I'm just fiddling with the kind of geometry of this so I can get this to sit right on top of it. Well, that's really close. In order to do that, I probably need to file these nice and flat, at least so that they come together pretty well. So let's try and keep it kind of at the same angle that they're meeting. That's almost perfect. Got pretty lucky on that one. Okay, so I think in order to make sure I have a nice flat surface to solder this to, I'm going to file this kind of down like this and get rid of a lot of that square wire on top, or round wire on top. What do you think about sweating some solder around the outside edge of this, flipping it over and just heating the whole thing till it solders down? I think that's the best way to go. And then we'll build one of these and we can pickle it. So let's get this guy a little bit soldered up. So far so good. Alright, let's make a little bail. Let's see if we can't find the center. I'm going to bend it in the middle. Made this one a little wider than the other one. See how it goes. Okay, now I need to make some little filigree shapes. I'll probably use 18 gauge again. Made some little swirly doodads here. I like this better than the previous incarnation anyway, since I changed the pattern up a little bit. I did some little kind of heart shapes there. So I think we can just kind of find a flat spot and solder these in. Going to be the outside. I'll just bend it around the bail making pliers. I think I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter though. That should make for kind of a fun bail. I like it. Okay, so I want a loop on the top of this now. And I think I'm just going to do like a partial loop that attaches to the outsides of the filigree little triangle, whatever you call it. Filigree base. That looks like that might be a good size. Sometimes I have little loops that I've made in the past laying around in a little box or something. This time I did. Plenty of solder still. I'm thinking we should be able to just kind of pick solder like that. And I still have plenty of solder on the pad, it looks like. The reason I can solder this bail part here without worrying about this other stuff falling apart, because it's a separate piece, and unless you heat that entire piece up to the soldering temperature, it's unlikely for any of this stuff to stick to that, or for any of this stuff to reflow until you do that. So when you have a separate piece like this, that's kind of nice. Now I'm going to heat this up and toss it in the pickle. And let it turn up for a while. I put a little thin layer of tag board in there just to raise it up a tiny bit, and then go ahead and start setting this guy. Make sure he's all the way in there. A little bit of burnishing here. Burnishing is rubbing that top edge to smooth it out and lay it down as tight as you can get it. Alright, there's our piece. I think that'll be a pretty one to sell.
Everybody will love that.
Okay, well that was the raised filigree Larimar pendant. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. That helps me out a great deal. Also, make sure to check out the video description for the various links to my platforms and such. There's a link to my Patreon if you're interested in a more personalized experience. There's also Buy Me a Coffee if you just want to give me a tip. You can go to my website and check out the jewelry I have for sale, and there's even a merch store link if you want to. If you just absolutely feel like you need to have a T-shirt with my face on it, you know. All right. Well, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to leave comments and suggestions, and you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. Happy silversmithing.